Hey, Coupley Fit fam. Welcome back to the Coupley Fit podcast. We are talking all things health, marriage, and mindset. We are Kurt and Deanna Mangum II, your hosts. In this episode, we are going to be talking about resetting your body and mind with 10 spring cleaning tips.
And the timing is perfect because I feel like everyone is so hyper-focused on wellness and your goals and New Year's resolutions in January. And it's like 3 months later, where are we with those goals
Where are those
and
goals?
those resolutions and all the things? And it's like, I'll kind of push it off. I think the timing is perfect to dive into some of these tips.
Yes. So we wanted to talk more about this too, because yes, it's going to be a little of a trend topic, but then it also is something I feel like if we can have actionable steps that are relatively easy to make a small change, then that's going to be able to help us. And so we're going to be talking from a whole person approach. So first we're going to start with relationship, and then we're going into physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So first and foremost, we'll start with relationship.
Yeah, when I think about on a relationship tip, things that we can do to reset in that spring cleaning is one, active listening. I feel like so often it can be a situation where you feel like someone's not hearing you, or you feel like there's an opportunity to connect more with your partner. But a lot of times the root of that is listening to what they're saying, sometimes what they're not directly saying, but they're kind of like signaling to you. And I think that's such a huge one too, because one, you can actively listen. And then I also think about when we respond or how we respond, making sure the tone and the energy is positive and what you want versus maybe not so much of what you want. Like I think about earlier today, like literally before we came to film the episode, I was thinking about my tone when I said, hey, let's make sure we got like all of our rings. So I didn't have my ring on yet. I didn't want you to forget your ring. But I realized, I was like, after I said it, like my tone was like elevated.
And we say tone ranger.
Tone ranger. That's like, so if
Because
anybody
the range
needs,
of tone,
it was
we need
too,
to figure
it was,
out.
we
You
were
were
out
a
of
little
range.
too high. You were a little too high. I need you to bring it down.
I don't know who you're talking to.
I don't know who you're talking to.
So tone ranger, I like that. But that's something that other people could use is like, if we say that to each other, it's almost like that's an apology, but it's like me or I don't say that's not an apology, but it's more so acknowledging that that was out of tone or that was a higher tone, and that could be accompanied by an apology.
Yes, 100%. And I think you're so right. Active listening is something that is critical in a relationship, whether that is romantic, familial, whatever that looks like for you, just to make sure that you're continuously, yes, you can hear me. I hear what you're saying, but are you listening to what I'm saying? And is it processing, and are you understanding kind of the tone or the point that I'm trying to get across? So number 2 is going to be to continuously date your spouse. You will always hear us talk about dating your spouse. I will say it does come a little bit more from the men's standpoint that I've heard, where men are thinking, well, I dated you, we got married, I've got you now, so what do we need a date for? And I think that is something that we can change that mindset, because when you're dating your spouse throughout your relationship, it's going to just bring back those nostalgic feelings. It's going to bring you back, kind of reset almost in a way. And so going back to kind of spring cleaning tips, that's a great way to reset. Something that I appreciate that you do that is dating your spouse, but just something that is very small, is any order that I have, my shoe size, my pant size, my shirt size, you actually write down under my contact in your phone, like, hey, this is her order at Starbucks. This is her order when we go to Chick-fil-A. This is her, shoe size and those things. So I really appreciate that. But that allows you to, on the male side, to be able to say, hey, it's Friday. I'm heading home from work. Let me look at my contact for my wife and see, oh, she loves lilies. So now let me just go to the store. And again, you can go to any grocery store. They're right in the front. You can grab a bouquet of lilies or just flowers in general, but something that you know that she's going to like. And I feel like that's a great way to kind of keep that spark alive and also just reset sometimes if you were in a little bit of a rut.
100%. I think that's a great call out that you made too of, for the men, you have to continue to date your spouse, because the idea that I already have her you can lose her.
You can lose her
at any point in time.
especially with social media.
Come on now,
Woo.
we see it. You know, I don't want to. You know, I'm not judging Offset and Cardi B, but somebody done swooped in on Cardi. You know, I saw that recently. People were saying he's sad, and it happens, right? But I'm sure looking back, there are those opportunities where you could have been doing more active listening. You could have been dating your spouse and not losing track of the fact that you need to have that quality time together and to connect, and for it to be just the two of you. And yeah, I appreciate you acknowledging that too, because I don't expect to memorize everything and know all, like, every shoe size. And sometimes I just want to call out, like, every shoe is not the same fit.
That's true.
So like me, I'm like a 13 pretty much across the board. It's like it could be a this, it could be a this, right? So being able to know, and for the guys too, it's really more the mindfulness and the little things of, because the flowers might cost you $20, 25, and they got some, you can go into Fry's and get some for 15. Like, it's not the price. The dollar store has cards for $1, but you can do cards, flowers once a month. So it doesn't have to be once a week. It could be once a month.
Yes.
But that $30 that you invested, and then putting a time on a calendar and going out on a date or going out to dinner or making dinner if you don't have the money, and maybe eating it on the patio or just creating that date or that time. That experience, it shows that you cared. It shows that you put time and effort in, and your spouse is going to Your spouse is going to be able to acknowledge and see that, because I know, like, let's just keep it real. The guys put a lot of effort in on other things, you know, just effort on, you know, fantasy draft. Like, I know guys that, I mean, the fantasy draft is like, it's a whole nother world. There's things out throughout the entire year, checkpoints, and it's a lot of effort.
Yes.
But we don't necessarily always put that time in on, like, our spouse and in our household.
Yes. I'm going to say something that may hit some people in the heart a little bit. I personally believe that there should never be an anniversary or a birthday of your spouse and even your children that is missed, in the sense of it should be on your Google Calendar. If you have a Gmail account, then you can have a Google Calendar. Put it in your calendar to repeat once a year on this day. There's a section where you can have a reminder of, hey, remind me a day or two before so that I can think of something. Because when your significant other misses your birthday, misses an anniversary or a special date, that is almost heartbreaking in some ways. And it's once a year that it comes around. And so I heavily believe that it should not be missed, and that something should be done, even if it's on a smaller scale, because we were talking about, there were some times where, we just didn't outright have the money to be able to do something. And that's okay. If you do something at home that is thoughtful, right? You can go to Michael's too and just grab some, not even $15, like $10 paint set, and then you can get like a bottle of wine, and now you have your own paint and sip at home, right? Like, those little things that go so far, I think, is huge when you're talking about dating your spouse.
And fellas, I mean, you mentioned hitting some people close to the heart right there. But for the fellas, I mean, when's the last time you missed the Super Bowl? When's the last time you missed Super Bowl Sunday? I don't think so. I mean, I can't remember the last time I missed Super Bowl Sunday. So I feel like treating the birthdays, the anniversaries, the same way as you would do a Super Bowl Sunday,
same date,
or whatever that Super Bowl is
every
for you.
year.
Because if it's the NBA playoffs or March Madness, whatever that is, put it on the calendar.
Put it on the
Make
calendar.
it a priority. But that's really what we're talking about, right? A part of the spring cleaning can be prioritizing, making your partner a priority, and putting forth or showing that effort.
Correct. Yes. Love that. So then we're going to jump into, when we talk about resetting your body, we're talking about your physical health. So what's one of the things that you would suggest that somebody do as a tip for spring cleaning their physical health?
Yeah, the physical health, I think it goes back to what we always talk about and preach, which is, SWAN is an acronym: sleep, water, activity, nutrition, and just finding ways to do each of them more. So that's something I know ways that I'm thinking about how I'm doing that right now, and the kind of spring reset is, one, after we eat dinner, like, let me actually go back to the bedroom and go to sleep, like making it a more formal bedtime versus I'm going to have a snack, I'm going to have dinner, I'm going to have a snack, I'm going to fall asleep on the couch, I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and have to go back to the bedroom and my sleep is like interrupted, versus like it's actually bedtime. I need to head back right now before it's time to pass out and like get that good sleep and rest.
Yes, you're so right. And SWAN, the great thing about that is that that's going to help you in all aspects, because when you feel better, you're going to do better. You're going to be able to have more even compassion for others. It leads into so many areas of your life when you feel better. And when, as we always say, get your SWAN on. So emphasize on that sleep, making sure you drink water. Again, we always talk about it's just 1% better every day. That's it. So if you had 1 bottle of water yesterday, try to have 2 today. On the activity, if you were able to walk 15 minutes yesterday, maybe try to walk 30 today. Same on the nutrition. If you are, somebody who is more of a meal person and you're not having the snacks in between, but you notice that you might binge eat a little bit in between, having some healthier snacks that you can add in too. All of these little small tweaks and changes are going to help you so much overall when it comes to your physical health.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I also think on the physical side is just updating your routine. And when we say that, when we talk about your routine, that can be your actual workout routine and updating that. Thankfully in Arizona, it's not, last week was a little bit hot, but it's not as hot now. We're kind of in the 70s and 80s. This is a great opportunity to go out and hike mountains. This is a great opportunity to go out on the few lakes that we have. This is a great opportunity for you to walk outside, bike outside, those type of things where you can just update your routine a little bit, or even add in something that you've been wanting to do for some time, but maybe the weather didn't permit or it wasn't the right timing for you. But just updating that routine, giving a little bit of spring cleaning, a little spice to it, will also help to reinvigorate you and help that motivation and even the inspiration for you as well.
Yeah, 100%. I really like that that you mentioned that on the physical side and then updating the routine, because for me, I was wanting to do like a little bit of a reset where I found myself yo-yoing a little bit with my nutrition and kind of gaining some weight. I would lose it, then I'm gaining weight back because I do enjoy to eat. Like, that's just to be real. But then doing like 75 hard for a little bit, it kind of turned into 75 medium.
Hey now.
Because I had some conferences and travel, and so it was like I did have that drink or two, but I did get active. I did get active inside, outside. I did all the other things, but I just like some of those elements. I really like the elements of the challenge of like the mindset, the reading 10 pages of a book. The theme of it is it's gonna be hard, but kind of committing to 75 days of making a healthier habit or making a healthier change. Taking a before and after photo, like taking a progress photo each day. So like the pieces like that I've definitely been doing, and I've noticed that it's been helpful in updating my routine and kind of doing a little bit of that reset for the spring as well.
Yes, and I just want to quickly say, because you were talking about yo-yoing, and that's something that we've discussed over time too, and you're asking me, hey, can you hold me accountable in this space? And can you also help me maybe by portioning out my snacks? And I think that's another thing too, is ask your spouse, ask your partner, ask even your best friend, anybody that you think is going to help you stay accountable. Hey, this is something that I'm struggling with. Can you help me whenever I may feel weak, or I may feel like, just I'm gonna eat it anyways. You might, gently and compassionately tell me that there's maybe other options, or that, hey, maybe let's indulge a little bit, but let's maybe not eat the whole thing, right? Those type of things too, but it leads to compassion for yourself, realize, and grace for yourself that you are still learning, you are still implementing changes that are difficult, and it's okay if every once in a while you slip up, or every once in a while it's like, I wasn't gonna eat this pizza, but you know what? I really enjoy this type of pizza and I'm gonna have it today. That's okay. Going back to kind of that 80-20 perspective, 80% of the time, try to live that healthy lifestyle. 20%, live a little, right? Like, we are human beings. There's a lot of good food out there specifically. So enjoy yourself a little bit, but don't overindulge as often, because that can lead again to, like you were saying, with the yo-yo dieting.
Yeah, and to that point, I had cookies. I'm sorry, not cookies. I wanted cookies yesterday, but I had pizza yesterday. Shout out to Spinato's.
Spinato's.
Had pizza yesterday, but it's sometimes to that 80-20 mindset is like 80% of the time I'm gonna make a healthier choice, but 20% of the time I'm gonna also like enjoy what I love.
Yes.
And I appreciate that accountability and that balance, because it's those little adjustments that go towards a bigger overall change. Because like when it comes to the pizza, we still got pizza, which was great. Even had an adult beverage, which was great as well, but didn't get extra breadsticks or
Right.
like wings. I didn't
Right.
get the cookie that I saw pass by me that looked so good.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let that cookie slide.
It's giving Pizookie
It's
vibes.
you know what I'm saying? So
Woo!
like, but
Yum,
being
yum,
able to
yum.
have that accountability with your partner, because sometimes it is hard to have that self control to be like, you know what? Especially too when it's like, I almost like to say the moments that people don't see. It's like it's easy to sometimes pass on the Pizookie when you're out, but like when you're at home and it's like
Nobody's watching
nobody's
me.
watching me. I got all the snacks. Ooh, right? And it can
Yeah.
be a slippery slope. So I appreciate you making things like the yogurt bars and, you know, even portioning some of the snacks and things like that, because naturally I realized like, oh, if I've run through 3 Ziploc bags, I've gone through 3 servings or 3 separate portions.
Yes.
That's too much. So
Yes.
yeah, that teamwork really helps.
Absolutely. It's and on both ends too. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about how you can reset your mind. So when we talk about mental health or just even mental fitness, what are some tips that you would have?
Yeah, I think one of the great ones is setting boundaries for your mental health. And I think about, and this is something that you hit me to, which was the power hour. And
Yes.
so power hour is how you start your day. We want to be the thermostat, not the thermometer, meaning we want to set the tone versus adjusting to what the energy might be in the room, right? And so one of the ways we can do that with setting boundaries is not getting on our phone first thing in the morning. It's easy to jump to the notifications, the emails, the work, the Slack, the whatever, but realizing like, let me actually like settle.
I just woke up.
I just woke up. Let me meditate. Let me journal. Let me be able to go into my Bible or my devotional and like set the stage where now I'm coming into the day. I'm coming into whatever's waiting for me on my phone with the right mindset and focus. And I think that's a good boundary, aside from the boundaries of people. But like, I think that's a great boundary just to start with, is that time and that first thing in the morning.
Yes, I think to add to your point too is remembering that no is a complete sentence. When you tell somebody that no, I'm not going to do this, or no, I'm going to now turn down some opportunities because I've noticed that it's maybe taking away from my mental space, my mental capacity, which is then affecting maybe my kids or is affecting my relationships. No is a complete sentence. And if somebody does not respect that boundary, that's when then you may need to reevaluate how you're interacting with that person, because that person should understand, if they are a passion partner, they should understand that, okay, you said no, I completely respect that. I'm not going to ask you again, or I'm going to ask you at a later date. But right now it's a no. And then also, how can I support you maybe as you're going through your mental journey? And is there anything that I can do to help? I think those are really some great opportunities there too.
100%. Something else that just triggered me when you said the passion partner side and also the boundaries. Watch how people respond when you say no. Because when you say no to somebody, and if they change up and all of a sudden
They're yelling
at you, they're
or
cussing
saying,
you out,
yes.
or they talking behind your back, or all of a sudden you ain't no good no more. Hold on. I just said no to you one time. I just can't do it today. So a lot of times you find out more about people that are around you, and that leads to something else. You want to surround yourself with people that want something for you and not from you. So many times people want something from you. They want to take, but they don't want to give. They don't want to pour in, right? And you said passion partner, and we had a pastor that used the term, people fall into 3 categories.
I love this.
Passion partners, meaning they're adding to your life before they take away from it. Parasites, meaning they're latched on and they're just kind of sucking the life out of you, right? Someone that you spent time with and you feel drained
afterwards.
You're like, what just happened? I'm tired.
Yes.
That's a parasite. And then you also have pirates, which are people that think about a pirate on a ship coming and they take over. Have you ever had somebody you shared an idea with and all of a sudden they are doing your idea? You're just like, dude, I told you that. Like, you just stole my idea.
Yes, you stole my look, whatever that look. Yes.
Outfit, whatever, that's a pirate. So out of those 3 categories, and some people can fall into multiple categories.
Yes.
But if they're not passion partner, if they fall into parasite or a pirate, those are people that you need to set boundaries from and move away from, because they're not helping you get closer to peace and prosperity.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad that you said that, because that was something I was going to mention too. And those three categories, it can work for, again, a romantic relationship, a familial relationship, your friends as well. Because sometimes friends do overstep their boundaries sometimes, and they think that there may only be for them. And you have to realize that, okay, maybe I'm spread too thin right now. And going back to that no is a complete sentence. And then also, when I told you no, how did you react? Because that's going to tell me a lot about you and then potentially your character. And then I may need to make some moves. I may need to not necessarily talk to you as often. And interesting enough, we've had some situations like that in our personal lives where it just kind of, things just fizzled out. Like you weren't reaching out to me, I'm not reaching out to you, and that's just what it is. But it's God kind of moving people out of the way for you so that you can find your tribe.
And to that point, I laugh a little because I thought about the Michelle Obama podcast, and she used the term the slow ghost.
Slow ghost. Bye, fade to black.
They just, it's everybody.
It's like the Homer Simpson meme where he's fading into the bushes.
And that's literally what happens with certain friends. And sometimes there doesn't need to be a conversation of like, we fell out or we're not friends anymore. Because there's typically one of two things. It's either the slow ghost and you just kind of slowly fade away. They're liking less, they're commenting on less pics, they're texting you less. And then there's also that friendships where you may not talk every day, but you see that person and it's as if you just were with them the day before. So like you can find that out of those true passion partners. You don't have to talk to a friend every day or every week to have that friendship still be good and authentic. So it's just interesting. But I love that slow ghost because those pirates and parasites are people that sometimes you just got to slow ghost and just fade away.
Fade to black. So on the mental health side too, something that we love to always do, and you've heard it if you've listened to some of the other episodes that we've recorded, is practicing gratitude. I can't even tell you, on the way here, as we were driving to film this episode, we were going through a neighborhood where we were seeing multiple unhoused people. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm so grateful that we just have a car. I'm so grateful that we have gas. I'm so grateful that we woke up this morning. I'm so grateful that we have each other. I am the smallest things. When you see somebody who doesn't have, you remind yourself, like, what was I even complaining about before? It was so, it was something that was so small that somebody who may be unhoused or maybe in a different situation would love to have what you have, but you're complaining about it. And so just shifting that mindset to practice that gratitude. And something we like to do too is, again, it's opening our Bible for us and reading God's word and seeing that how often gratitude plays a role and how grateful we are that I wake up every morning and I say, I'm so grateful that God woke me up this morning. I pray for you. I pray for our families. And I think the more that we can practice gratitude for the small things, when those big opportunities or those big, deals, whatever that looks like for you, come your way, you have so much grounded gratitude that it's becomes now, I don't want to spoil this, or I don't want to see this go away. Maybe let me see how I can share this with others. But I know that I'm grounded in my gratitude of how just absolutely grateful we are for the smallest of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to your point on the gratitude and being able to remind ourselves of that. And it's so key to also write that down.
Yes.
And I think the journaling, which has been a game changer for us, but when we write it down, and, I've got an actual journal, then I have like my daily agendas, but there's a space on both to write what I'm grateful for. And it's like 3 things on the journal, and I can write, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful I woke up this morning. I'm grateful that, our accounts aren't in the negative, right? Like all of those things I'm grateful for. And then I have my joy list, which is like almost like a page marker in my journal, but it has all the things I'm joyful for. Again, you're on the list, the prosperity, just the blessings, healthy, all of these things. So it can help remind you, because when you're having a bad day, it's easy to just be down on yourself and be like, everything is bad.
Everything's going wrong.
Struggling. I can't do this. This went bad today. I got a flat tire. And in those moments, that can feel like the worst thing. But a lot of times those are like a 6-minute problem, a 6-hour problem, 6 weeks. Like it's not a forever thing. And we just need to come back to that gratitude. And I also love something that you share with me, which was the I Am app.
Yes.
That has the ability to like remind you to practice gratitude. So you'll get notifications throughout the day of I am joyful. I am grateful. I am fearless. I am abundant. And I even share some of these on my stories and different things like that. We'll post them because sometimes that reminder and just saying it to yourself. And then the other two things that I love on the reminders or the mental like gratitude side too is saying, I am thankful, I am grateful, but then also I believe that I'm going to be okay. Like I believe that today is going to be a good day. And then, yeah, I think
Yes.
those are key.
Well, and to your point, it's changing the mindset, right? And changing the perspective on what you think may be a bad day. If I can change this into a positive, what does that look like? It might be an I believe statement or an I am statement. Because what we have to realize too is typically human beings have around 40,000 thoughts a day, on top of the information that you're being fed as well, whether it's on social media or it is just on the internet and the news. You're being fed constantly what can seem like either fear-based or negative information. And so how are you going to change that mindset into being positive? And something else I like to also do is with those I am statements, I like to do them in the mirror. I'm looking at myself. And when you look into your eyes, as you're looking at your reflection, and you're saying these I am statements, I believe statements, it's hitting your soul. And you're really learning to change that mindset because most of the time we believe 80% of the negative thoughts as opposed to, well, let me change these into those positive thoughts and see where this takes me. And it's not always like an instant, I feel better, or I feel so much better, not all the time, but the continuous practice of gratitude is going to help you as you continue to move through your journey. And in this case, the spring cleaning.
Yes.
So let's move into emotional health, because I think this is something that may not necessarily be talked about as often. But do you have any tips on the emotional side that people can do in order to spring clean body and mind?
Yeah, emotionally, something that has been really helpful for me, and you helped me remind me of this too, is the things that bring you joy, make sure you do them.
Yes.
And it can be so small. It can be like as little as for me, after I go to the gym, and it's great because our community, you can work out at the gym and then there's the community pool, but literally the 10 minutes that I take after my workout to just swim for 10 minutes. And it's not like an intense workout type swim. It's just under the waterfall, hanging out in the pool. But me being in the water brings me joy. And every time I get out, I feel so refreshed, renewed, rejuvenated. But then sometimes I ask myself, do I want to grab the sandals today? Do I want to grab my towel? Should I get in the pool after the workout? And so when you remind me or I remind myself of this brings me joy. And so I think that's one of the big things that we can do is do the things that bring us joy, whatever that might be. I know something else is a little bit mindless, but if it's jumping on the Madden for a few minutes at the end of the day and just unwinding, mindless. But if that brings you joy, try to find some time to do that.
Yes. Now on the gaming side,
no, I can
the
get
fellas,
out of,
okay? There needs to be a time limit is all I'm going to throw out there. But
my franchise can sometimes get a little out of hand.
There needs to be a time limit, okay? Very similar to the hard stop we were talking about in the last episode. There needs to be a hard stop
to
okay?
the Madden.
Because it's family time. It is spouse time, okay? That's all
You got
to
make sure there's date night and not just Madden night.
Okay. Thank you. And to your point of activities that bring you joy, this is a great reminder for me because there have been some things that I know are going to bring me joy that I have been putting off, whether it's because I'm taking care of somebody else or I'm even worried about somebody else's, mental health and physical health and those things. And especially as women, we always are putting ourselves on the back burner. And so sometimes I have to remind myself that if I'm not putting myself first, not only who else is going to do it, but then also how can I be my best self for everybody else if I'm not putting the effort into my own joy? And so I know something for me that I want to start doing, I have been kind of incorporating is solo dates, which have been really exciting for me because now, there's some things that we do everything together and I absolutely love it. And I ask you sometimes would you like to go to a pottery class? And you're just, no. And so I'm like, okay, well, I think that would be amazing. I would love to be able to go to a pottery class. So I might take, an hour or two for myself. And I would love if more moms would do this for themselves too, to take that hour and two for yourself, do something you enjoy. It's, I want to try a pottery class. I want to try a painting class. I want to try a flower arrangement class. What are the things that you've wanted to try that bring you the joy that will allow you to come back to your situation and you feel replenished. You feel a little bit more whole. You feel like, okay, now I can give to others because I've poured into myself first. Yeah. So I think that's always something that I try to advocate, especially when I talk to my friends who have kids, is like, what I always ask, what are you doing for yourself? Make sure you're taking time for yourself. So I'm also trying to take my own advice there as well, but that's something that I think can also be incorporated too.
Sure.
So on the emotional side too, I think that also adding in an opportunity to seek support. So whether that's a support group, whether that is a person, whether that is, an activity that you're doing that you feel like you're being supported in that. And then something that we've both started last year was actually seeking professional support and professional help. And I know I started my journey first with being able to be in finding a therapist and going through the emotions and feelings of working through some things over time that I have gone through and maybe haven't talked about, and it's been sitting dormant for some time, but then something may happen in your life where all of a sudden you're like, why is my reaction so much bigger than maybe what the situation is? Not realizing, oh, this is a trigger from when I was 10 years old. So those type of things, sometimes you do need to seek professional help. I know for us, a website that worked well for us, this is not sponsored, was Alma, ALMA.com, because you're able to put in your insurance. You're able to also add in maybe a range of what you can afford, but then you can also add in religion. You can also add in race. I know for both of us, we both wanted a Black therapist. And that's been something for our emotional health. I have noticed that although when I'm in it, I don't feel like I'm necessarily it's not being helped, but I'm not feeling it right away. But it's because I'm going through the breaking down of barriers and emotions and those things. But now that I've been, in it for, I think 8+ months, I feel it now where I was like, gosh, I've come so far in my journey and I'm so proud of myself. I give myself the positive encouragement to keep going, even though it's extremely hard. There's days where I'm crying. There's days where the grief kicks in. There's days where I'm feeling emotionally overwhelmed. But when I let it settle for a little bit, then I'm like, I needed that. I needed to be able to express myself in a way that I wasn't able to before. And so I if you want to share a little bit about your journey as well, of also being a Black male going through therapy.
Yeah, therapy is it's an experience, because a lot of times especially the Black community, and I just think about growing up, like therapy wasn't something I heard people talk about. It was like, you need to go talk to Jesus.
Okay.
You better go to church.
That's right.
What you mean? And that can be something that can be maybe therapeutic or can help you with your faith, but it's not therapeutic. It's not actual therapy. Correct. And someone speaking to the traumas and the situations that you've experienced and you've gone through. And so I think therapy, and what you touched on reminds me, therapy is a lot like working out. In the moment, it's hard work.
It's hard.
You feel like you're doing the breaking down of the muscles or of the situations, or you're digging up the past and the experiences and the things that you've gone through. But just like working out, those muscles are going to recover and be stronger. You have the muscle memory and things like that from the last session that you did that helps you be more prepared and ready for the next thing you're going to face in life. Because things are going to trigger us. They are going to come up from the past and be like, wait, why did I respond that way to it? And I think the therapy for me too was, one, just taking the step of being open and talking to someone, because there's also this idea too of like, you don't need to tell them your business. Who they gonna tell your business to, right? And all of this, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Let's, one, obviously build the trust with the therapist and the person you're talking to, but also like let's work through the things that I know I don't have the answers for. And so often people are like, let's leave it under the rug. Like, I don't want to dig it up.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to think about it. But I feel like we're also keeping it in the box,
in the corner.
But we're also going through the journey of another phase, right? We talk about couply fit in another chapter, but also even like in marriage, 8 years, and like the phase that we are in life, I want to continue to improve and get better. And if I'm hanging on to things, like I think one of the advantages that I have, that on one end it's a competitive advantage in a good way, is like I don't forget anything. It's almost like being an elephant. Like my memory is like, I still remember sharp. Like I remember the person.
It from Granny.
Granny got a great memory too.
Granny, she's
but like memory sharp to the point of like, I remember, there's a moment, just as like super side note, but things that you can like hang on to. I'll never forget being a kid and riding the car, probably had to be like 11, 12 years old. And I'm going to get ice cream with a neighbor, like friend right up the street, Martin and Anthony. And he had his new car, Sunfire, nice car. We're going to get ice cream. And I had a cone and I spilled a little bit of my ice cream sprinkles in the car. And I'll never forget, he kicked me out of the car. But before he did, he called me a fat F and kicked me out of the car. And as a kid that was like overweight and like he didn't know the things I was struggling with, but that was like one of the most traumatizing experiences. And walking home, like ice cream, I remember like, man, crying. I'm a little kid, and I just was like, I looked up to them, and he kicked me out. But I say that to say, moments like that, I hung on to and clung to that because that's motivation for me. When I'm on the weight room and I'm on my third or fourth set, or it's a tough moment, or I don't want to get up in the morning, like. But I need to balance that because it can be negative if you're hanging on to moments like that and situations like that, and you haven't actually worked through it or worked through maybe the trauma of like, hey man, like at 11 or 12 years old, like that was really traumatizing. Like you don't have to be tough. Like those experiences you can talk through, whether it's that or family or other things. So just therapy is something that shouldn't be frowned upon. And if you need someone to talk to, especially all the people that struggle with different things from suicidal ideations, different stuff, like please seek help, talk to somebody on the therapy side because it can save your life.
Absolutely. And we've talked about that too earlier in our podcast too, where we both struggled with suicidal ideations when we were younger. So that was something that coming full circle on that's also why we seek professional help. So lastly is going to be working on the spiritual health. So this kind of is a good segue into that. And so what are some tips that you would give for somebody to spring clean their spirit?
Yeah, on the spiritual health side, I know a digital detoxing where it's not so social media heavy. I know it's tough when you're a creator and you're posting and things like that, but sometimes that digital detox, I know we talk about that morning shift. For me, spiritually, not trying not to jump on my phone and jump right to work or to social media. So I think about the digital detox, but going to the YouVersion Bible app for me on the spiritual side has been a game changer because there's different scriptures every day. There's different speakers that are giving you 2 minutes of like really, and this is not a sponsored by any way about the Bible app, but it's been impactful because it allows me to be able to tap in and have that positive reinforcement, that faith mindset right on my phone. And it's not just jumping to Twitter or jumping to, the news or whatever it may be that may not be positive news, and staying rooted in that from a spiritual and like faith focused aspect.
Yes, because if you think about it, there's times where you jump on social media and or read the news and your spirit is instantly impacted. You just feel like, gosh,
the world's coming to an end. Like it's
I'm
almost
down.
all over.
Like I'm down. I am. It's changing the trajectory of my day. I'm not feeling great anymore. And so on the digital detox side, I know something for us. We like to take those Sundays, which is the Lord Day. We like to take those days and try to stay off of social media as much as we can. Really just put our phone to the side. Unless it's really important, then we will, text you back. But if on Sundays you don't get messages from us, now you know why. We're taking it. It's a digital detox from text, from your social media, from the news, from even, TV shows, movies, those type of things where you're able to just focus a little bit more on fueling your spirit and feeding your spirit rather than watching things or interacting with things that are going to more so drain your spirit. And that's something I think we need now more than ever, is really keeping our spirits high. And it sounds easier said than done, especially in this climate right now. But I think this goes right into our last tip, which is going to be to volunteer. The more that you can get out into the community, the more that you can also see how other people are living outside of you. It's going to continue to broaden your aspect. It's going to broaden your perspective. Going back to that gratitude piece, you're going to be able to have more gratitude and be rooted. Because I know when we volunteer, there's something about the giving back piece, giving back to whether it's people or a community too, which we really enjoy. Tiger Mountain Foundation, that's a community garden that's in South Phoenix, absolutely incredible. We love Darren. He does an amazing job. They help with recidivism with the employees that they employ there, but then you're also able to go and pick radishes, and you help to clean up the gardens so that people in the South Phoenix area, which we have lived in, is a food desert, are able to have access to healthy food. And so finding a volunteer that works well for you, if you like kids, right, or the youth, that can be an option. If you want to volunteer in your church, if you want to volunteer, we do, community gardens, library even, right, wherever, whatever looks best for you and feels best for you, that's a great opportunity for you to be able to feed your spirit rather than have it be depleted.
Yeah, it's such a great call out, and that's something that we've always done on the volunteering side. And it reminds me of one of the things that we always talk about from a quote perspective, which is you can't outgive God.
Okay.
So
Amen.
whether you're struggling, whether your spirit needs to be uplifted, or you need, your tank might be a little bit low and you need to fill it back up. You can't outgive God. So if volunteering, giving back, giving some of your time, pouring in to those that are in need, and there's so many people in need, as you just mentioned, that's such
Food
an
banks are another
food bank,
opportunity.
such an opportunity, because I guarantee there hasn't been a time, almost like the gym. You go in the gym, no matter how long you worked out, you always feel better leaving than you did when you got in, unless you got hurt.
I just need to get there.
I just need to get there. It's the same way. You go volunteer, every time you leave, you're like, I feel so much better, so much more uplifted. And those are all things that can, kick off that spring reset and get you back closer to where you want to be for this year.
Yes. And I just quickly would say, as a couple, you can do that separately from your kids, but then also as a family, going and giving back and being able to volunteer, that's another opportunity for you to also feed and fuel your kids, because you don't know what they're being told at school. Like at school, I didn't realize, I have a little sister, I'm a mentor in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, and she's telling me some of the things that these kids are saying, and I am shocked. I am taken aback. I can't believe kids are saying this, but they're also
picking up. They're just listening. They don't know what things
listening.
mean. They don't even know what it means. They just heard somebody say that, and they're repeating it.
And they're repeating it. But if we're able to bring our kids into spaces where it's, again, fueling and feeding their spirit, and they have an opportunity to also see how other kids are living, it gives them a new sense of gratitude and a new sense of perspective of, wow, Mom, I know I was really mad at you before, or Mom or Dad, that I was really mad at you before for, maybe not getting me this toy or getting me this game, but now I see these kids don't even have shoes.
Correct.
Right? And so now it becomes so much bigger than you, your family, whatever the situation is. And it's a great opportunity to give back and feed your spirit.
And to that point, something else on the spring, I feel like this is almost like a bonus tip right here, but in that spring reset, there's so many items that you have around the house, in the closet, things that we're not using that you can donate. That also is a great way to either volunteer or give back, but also it cleans up your space. But like you said with the kids, look at all the toys that we have that we're not using. Look at all the kids that have no toys, right? And even for us, right? Look at all the clothes that we're maybe not using, or shoes, and there's people that don't have shoes, right? And so it's that perspective shift that brings back the gratitude full circle, but it also can lift your spirits by being able to give back and know you're helping somebody else.
Yes, I appreciate you so much. Thank you all for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, share with somebody who you think needs to hear this. And then also follow us on social media at Coupley Fit, COUPLEYFIT.